Hello and welcome to the Brick News, the weekly show on all things brick building, where we talk about set updates and announcements from all the major brands, MOCs of the week, and I think we have a reading recommendation this week as well. Information is presented as always by setdb.org, the best source for set information on the internet, and this is where we're going to go. And we will start with the BlueBrixx brand over here from Central Europe as we go through the brands in alphabetical order, as we do every week. And here we start with the three investigators. That is a license that BlueBrixx now has. However, it actually means the German variant of that. The three question marks would be the more precise translation in Germany, die drei Fragezeichen oder die drei Detektive. Anyhow, for those of you who may be interested in that overseas as well, this is, I think, maybe it come to a surprise, I think, for certain folks, but I think the three investigators that was originally novel series or story series from Hitchcock, I think, in North America, and it came over here to Germany and it got here a lot more popularity than it got in North America, and as a result, it is actually active to this day. So I think they are still producing books, actually a ton of that. They have tons of side variants of that, like the three investigators kits, and then there is a girls version as well, and it's quite popular over here across generations. A lot of folks in my age are listening to this or reading this, but also a lot of kids, of course, as well. So that is the reason why BlueBrixx has actually acquired this license, but these are most and foremost focused on the German variant of that, as you can see here. I do believe that they do not have, so this is kind of like a business card holder, because these three guys always give everybody their business card. I think it's kind of a meme, and so this is like a business card holder. However, I guess it could be interesting to some other folks as well. Anyhow, we will have the 108480. This is, like I said, the business card holder with the 3D logo with the three question marks. It's going to have 200 pieces. It's roughly almost 4 by 7.5 inches in size and 4.5 inches in height. And then they will have the Invisible Dog. I think this was one of the early novels, so I think this is still one by Hitchcock himself, if I recall correctly. I'm not really that deep into the three investigators. Anyhow, 108499, 1028 pieces, and yeah, I mean it's a dog entirely built in trans-clear pieces. Obviously, I do assume these will be Xingbao based pieces, so I don't know how good the trans-clear is going to be. BlueBrixx did this in the past as well, where they, I think when they had the Star Trek license, they did a couple of Klingon cruisers in a kind of a cloaked variant entirely with transparent pieces. These sets almost became memes in the community over here, but anyhow, if that is your cup of tea, you may be happy with the 108499. And then they have three big brick buddies, and I think this is, for instance, something that may be of interest to folks who, I don't know, from North America, for instance, who knew the original novels, because I think the three characters are always the same, depending on where you are and which variants you have read. And these are what BlueBrixx calls brick buddies. It's a similar idea than the Brickheads by Lego. However, they are different by the entire design language, and they're also much bigger. As you can see, you have almost 6 by 6 studs, while the Brickhead, of course, by Lego is more in a 4 by 4 stud format. Anyhow, we will have three brick buddies, of course, for the three investigators. 108506 is going to be Bob Andrews. Again, I guess he has something in his hand. I think all of them have kind of their business card in their hand. He has also a camera, of course, so he can do his research stuff, and there's a couple of newspapers, I guess, where he has done his research behind him. I do expect, because this is typical for BlueBrixx Pro, that there won't be any stickers in these sets, but entirely pet print based, but that remains to be seen. Anyhow, we do not know the piece count yet, but here you go, Bob Andrews. And then, of course, you have Justus Jonas, 108504, and he has also a business card in his hand, a glass, and a piece of chocolate behind his back. That is the 108504, like I said, and then you have the 108505, and this is Peter Shaw, 1085. No, I already said the number. Anyhow, I think he has, of course, a skateboard. He is a sporty guy, and also a key in his back pocket. So a couple of Easter eggs in these brick buddies as well. Then we have a few availabilities. Beer Rock Castle. Here we have now the extension of the Knights tournament. 108112. You have, I think, overall 8 minifigures, 938 pieces, 2 animals by means of horses, and BlueBrixx is asking for $50. I think I did talk about this set. I'm still missing a little bit. So you have the knights for the tournament, like you have the evil knight and the good knight. So the evil knight, of course, belongs to Ravenstone Fortress, and the good guy belongs to Beer Rock Castle. However, kind of the king and the queen are missing. That's what is lacking a little bit. But anyhow, tournament set, 8 minifigures, not too shabby for that price point. And then you have Ravenstone Fortress by itself. So Beer Rock Fortress is, I think, something that already started like last year. And now you have the antagonist, if you will, in the lineup as well. 107423 is the main set, 1944 pieces. I think there are no minifigures included, which is a bit weird because BlueBrixx is right now migrating the entire Beer Rock Fortress Beer Rock Castle lineup towards like a refresh. They're doing a refresh basically of all the sets, now including minifigures, because BlueBrixx started late last year, to bring out their own minifigure lineup. But yeah, I don't know. For whatever reason, this hasn't happened in this set. But it is like Beer Rock Ravenstone is highly modular as well. BlueBrixx is asking for $90, 4.6 cents a piece. And then you have an extension, the Ossuary. Ossuary? I'm pretty sure I pronounced this entirely wrong. My apologies for my ignorance. Still, I'm a German, so we don't do that well with English. And 108230, 900 pieces, 3 minifigures. And basically you have a soldier, then I guess, I don't know, a witch or an evil sorcerer or vampire, whatever you might call her, with pink hair though. And then you have a zombie, I think, maybe a former soldier as well, or a squire or something like that. And he has like a pink head though, so I'm pretty sure this guy is a zombie. And yeah, what else is to say? It's a lot more playful. The entire Ravenstone line seems to be a lot more playful than the Beer Rock Castle line, which is much more simple, I would say. But yeah, there's a lot of detail, and it feels kind of evil, and I think that is entirely the idea. $45, 5 cents a piece. Then also available is another ship, the Governor's Island, from the Governor's Island line, the Flying Merchant, 107903. I think I did talk about this. This was in February last year, so it took BlueBrixx quite a while to get this thing alive. So this, of course, is the third ship in the line. You have also the brick 108348 now, and the 107823. This now, the 107903, is, like I said, the third ship that you can purchase to basically extend your fleet. 1,297 pieces. BlueBrixx is asking for $50. Not too bad. 3.9 cents a piece. Then also available is the English Retro Roadster. So as typical, BlueBrixx for cars, they don't get any license from car manufacturers. That's why these things always have these, let's say, rather generic names. 107846 is a 1x18 car. 935 pieces only. I say only because it looks actually quite accurate and quite detailed. So I'm a huge fan. It is beautiful. It is, of course, in the traditional colors, i.e. a British racing green or dark green in brick color. Looks quite nice, and it's only $40, 4.3 cents a piece. And then they have, I think, multiple birds now available also, or additional birds, because they have already done so many. So this is a common raven, and now also come available. I just take this as an example. As always, you can just check out if you go to setdb.org or click on my website on set database. You can also just click the newly available button, and then you see a ton of stuff. And there are sets in there that I won't talk about, like for instance also BlueBrixx Lego has a couple of new brick heads on now live, but there are other sets like Yeka sets, Fantasy, Cobi stuff. Just check this out if you want to be informed about or inform yourself about newly available sets. What you can also always do, by the way, is just click this newsletter button, and next to all the social media stuff, which however is more focused on content, you can also say, okay, for new sets I want to put this in my RSS feed reader, or you can also configure over here an email subscription where you basically get, based on your choice, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, an update on new sets in the database. Anyhow, long story short, Common Raven now available, $35, 5.3 cents a piece. It's quite a beautiful bird, I must say. I don't know if the dark, I mean, it's always a bit problematic, right? Because ravens they are black, but they have kind of a blue shimmer sometimes to them. And so BlueBrixx decided here to go for dark blue as a color. I think as a brick set, this makes a more interesting view. Yeah, I think it looks better. It is definitely more interesting than entirely black. Plus, black is always a problematic color. Even the most expensive manufacturers like Lego or Cobi struggle sometimes to make a black truly black, right? Micro scratches and residues from the manufacturing process are always an issue, which sometimes give black pieces kind of a milky shimmer to them. So I think dark blue was a good idea, but even dark blue is not an easy color to handle. Anyhow, with that, we're done with BlueBrixx. Moving on to Cobi, and here we have now, I think for the very first time, that Cobi is working with Beechcraft by Textron Aviation. So I think they have 4 Beechcraft airplanes. One is a pure military version, the 86 Wolverine, and as a result, it actually does not have Beechcraft in the name. However, all the airplanes are more or less the same. So we have the 86 as a military version. This is then the 5905, part of the Armed Forces line of BlueBrixx, Cobi. My apologies. So this is a 1x48 scale airplane. Like I said, 4 different versions. We go through all of them. 262 pieces, has the Wolverine. I do not have yet prices by Cobi, but I do know that, and as you can see here, BlueBrixx plans to bring this thing to market around the price point of $35 US. As far as I can tell, it doesn't say minifigure on the box. There is, of course, a pilot in there. However, usually what Cobi is doing is that when it's only like half, in quotes, a minifigure, i.e. only the torso, and you basically brick in the torso, then they don't, which is okay. I think that is correct. They are not saying that there is a minifigure included. Personally, I never really understood why they're doing it this way. I can understand that from a construction point of view, not always, especially with 1x48 aircraft, they cannot put in an entire minifigure, but they could add the legs as an additional piece. I think even sometimes they do this, but in most sets they won't. Anyhow, let's move on. Then they have like 3 versions that they actually call out as Beechcraft T6, and they put all of them in the Action Town variant. However, some of them are kind of a military use, as you can see, and I think one is even called US Air Force. So not really sure what the logic behind that is, but anyhow, now let's, in quote, talk about the 3 civilian versions. We can go through them very quickly. They have a lesser piece count because there's basically no weaponry, tanks, or anything like that under the wings. That is why they have less pieces, and they have, in fact, all 3 of them 192 pieces, and again, same minifigure situation. And like I said, this is called the Texan 2, 26, 625, 626, 624 are the 3 versions. There's a black one, a white one, and a white blue one that is actually called US Air Force, but still put into the Action Town line. Don't really know what the logic behind that is, but I guess at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what Cobi is calling this. Then they have 2 Citroën sets of the Citroën Type H, so that's this yellow bus that you see here, and I think they have one set 24626 that is kind of a beach version with 2 minifigures, 1x35 scale vehicle. There's a bunny with a carrot. Not really sure what the bunny has to do with this entire beach surfer setup, but here you go, 260 pieces included. And then you have a slightly larger version with 390 pieces that has only 1 minifigure and a bicycle, and this is kind of a French Mediterranean Sea coast kind of vibe, where this thing is actually more like a coffee shop or something like that. Not selling ice cream, but coffee and croissant, of course, and baguette and all the kind of stuff that you want to have if you are on vacation in France. And then they have kind of a facade of a typical French architecture, southern hemisphere or southern Mediterranean Sea kind of vibe is coming across here as well. I actually would prefer this one. Also, I do believe that the Citroën Type H in this typical gray color, for me, that is the Citroën color of this era. A lot of their vehicles were in this kind of gray tone. Anyhow, here you go. And with that, we are coming back to military. This is actually a vehicle that was already in the ZTB when I did my news show last week. But, you know, when I was making the concept for the news show or the planning, it was actually not available. So we kind of had an overlap. I have this quite often. But anyhow, this is the F-117 Nighthawk 5903, one minifigure, 798 pieces. And yeah, Cobi's currently working on this one. I'm so looking forward to the set. I've always been a big fan of this airplane. It looks so weird and so strange. It looked more like, I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, not being able to be, being kind of a radar avoiding airframe is something that a lot of airplanes have nowadays, right? Most and foremost, of course, the B2, the F-22, the F-35. But if you look at the F-22 and F-35, I mean, they still look like regular airplanes, right? But this one here was the first, and they had to do a lot of stuff to cover this thing, or to make this thing as invisible as possible, and I think it looked like this. This is what I think always made the F-117 so cool, that it really looked like, okay, this thing has been built to avoid radar, not to be a beautiful airplane, not to be like a very maneuverable airplane. It just has to avoid the radar. This is what this is all about, and I think this is what this always said to me, and as a result, I've always been a big fan. And anyhow, Cobi is making now a 1/48 scale. You have a minifigure included as well, a pilot, and of course, this thing has never been sold outside of the US, so this is like the US variant, and there will never be another one. And then we have a couple of availabilities, again, also internationally, UK, over here in the European Union, as well as a pre-order option in North America with BlueBrixx again, and this is the Half-Track Sonderkraftfahrzeug 251. So SDKFZ, for those of you who are wondering, is the German acronym for Sonderkraftfahrzeug. This is kind of how they called tanks back in the days during Second World War in Germany. I think the whole tank wording or Panzer in Germany was not really used that much. Sonderkraftfahrzeug means basically special kind of vehicle, in quotes. Anyhow, Cobi has done many of these half-track variants in the past, so this is now a relatively straightforward true transport variant with 2 machine guns, 2 minifigures included, including, yeah, I guess that's more or less about it. Cobi itself is asking over here in Europe for $40, and then you have different price points over here in Europe. In North America, slightly higher, also UK, Amazon in this case, 45 quid in the US, also almost $45 US. Then also available is the M3 Stuart, both over here as well as in America, North America, 3129, 2 minifigures, 511 pieces. You have different prices again. North America starts from $42 US, UK is 45 quid almost, Canadian 77. You know the drill, 1/35 scale actually. And yeah, that's about it. 2 minifigures, not much to say about it. And then we have another M4 Sherman that is now available again, 1/35, so that's the larger. No, it's actually the smaller 1/28 is the larger one. Version by Cobi. Cobi has 2 different scale lines, if you will, in their tank lineup. So this here is the M4A1 Sherman 3126, 2 minifigures, 663 pieces, now also available most and foremost through Amazon Marketplace, both in the US as well as in UK. And then you have the Mark IV Churchill. So this is a British tank, of course, 3128, 2 minifigures, 668 pieces. Again, multiple availabilities in in Amazon Marketplace. I'm pretty sure it's Marketplace. So you have to check out what that actually means. If this could means that you are doing a direct import from Europe, in case you're not from Europe. I do recommend, because I guess customs is a topic then. You have to check this out yourself. But BlueBrixx has this thing also, or will have this thing in store for $60 US. For those of you who live in North America, this may be the better option. And then you have Panzerkampfwagen 4 Ausführung G. Again, a lot of German here. I've talked about this set in the past. Also available in the US with marketplace option of Amazon around $53. In Europe, it's around 44 euros. Anyhow, 3127, 2 minifigures. Panzerkampfwagen was another name that they used. Basically means it's like a tank battle car. Again, not really use this nowadays anymore as a terminology, but this was how it was called back in the day. And number 4, this is like a light or medium tank. To have some context on this one, and I think this is one of the main tanks that the Germans used during the war, and they made almost 9,000 of these during Second World War, but I think it has never been used or produced after the war. Then we have a couple of these Rams now available in Europe. In the US, they are still on pre-order, so all 3 cars, I did talk about them, are now available in this way. 24609 is the ambulance version, starting around $38 US or euros. Then you have the fire truck 24612. This is basically the same price point. And then you have the wrecker tow truck 24611. Again, same price point in North America and Europe, which is actually relatively high, I would argue. In fact, you almost, I mean, if you look, for instance, here at the tow truck, at the North American version, $38 US, that's almost 13 cents a piece. Yes, there are very large pieces in there, like Cobi typically does with their cars and vehicles. So the entire bonnet section, if you will, or front section, is like one large pad printed piece. Of course, that makes stuff more expensive. In a similar fashion, maybe than the Lego 4 Plus sets are, but still, I think for just a car, I mean, yeah, it's a truck, but you know what I'm talking about. This feels a bit high, at least for me. And then you have another Sonderkraftfahrzeug, this case the 139, the Marder 3. I think this is like a movable artillery piece, 3131. This thing has 486 pieces, 2 minifigures. I did talk about this, I think, and also an anti-tank cannon included as well as assigned to El Alamein, because this is part, of course, of Rommel's desert. I almost said Desert Storm, but I don't even know what in English the Desert War is called nowadays in Germany. I think usually people say like Rommel's War or the Desert War of the Second World War. Anyhow, 486 pieces in Europe only available. I don't have a North American option, unfortunately, at this point in time in the database, but in Europe you can buy this now for 38. Then the US Control Tower is now also available. I did talk about this one, I think, last week. I think it's also on the pricey side, especially in North America right now. I think this very high price of $80 US is because I assume it's an import option, i.e. shipping from Europe. But yeah, relatively high, 3125 now available though. Then we have a few more announcements as well, or predictions actually in May. Cobi expects that they will have the V1. So V1 and V2 I guess the V2 is the more, let's say, well-known variant of the rocket program that the Nazis had during Second World War. I guess the V1 is different because it flies more like an airplane. So I guess it's more like a cruise missile, if you will. I mean, I'm not really an expert with this kind of weaponry, but I guess it is the closest thing to a cruise missile, while the V2 was like a true rocket, right? 3135 is the V1, 262 pieces, and they also say on the box it will have 2 minifigures included. However, at this point in time, I don't have any pictures yet on the minifigure side, just the box art, which does not include any figures. My guess is there will be kind of, I don't know, some Air Force personnel readying this thing for launch, or maybe even, I don't know, somebody like Werner von Braun or a scientist. However, no, I'm talking stupid stuff here. Werner von Braun was, of course, only included, or he was leading the engineering of the V2 program, not the V1. Anyhow, we already have the first price indication from North America from BlueBrixx, again, $50. And then we have another limited edition, in this case of the Sonderkraftfahrzeug 222, which I think is a set that Cobi has also announced in this case, the 2657. And this limited edition, however, this happens from time to time, is very different because they not only have the vehicle itself, like in the standard edition, they have it in a different color point, but they throw in an entirely second tank, the TKS, which I guess is a Polish tank, not 100% sure. But long story short, it's an entirely different animal. It has 824 pieces, 3 minifigures, and a horse included. So it is a limited edition, and Cobi, that basically means in Cobi's case that you have to purchase this from Cobi directly, from the Cobi online store, which I think is only available over here in Europe. Anyhow, Cobi is selling this one for €70, 8.5 cents a piece. And like I said, you have the 222 included, but also this TKS, which I actually don't know much about. Maybe it's not a Polish tank. But it's actually a good question. No, it seems to be a Polish, place of origin Poland. I've actually never heard about the TKS before, but of course, Cobi is a Polish company, so you always get a few, maybe not that well-known Polish weapon platforms included in their portfolio as well. With that, we're moving on to Lego, and here they have announced the 31215, another art piece of Vincent van Gogh, the Sunflowers. This thing will release March 1st. It's going to have 2,615 pieces. If I see this correctly, first Lego recognized fan medias have already been provided with the set. BlueBrixx, it seems, has a review already out there. As always, I keep linking reviews for you in the set database as well from various outlets. And of course, with Lego, all the outlets that have decided to become Lego ambassadors, and they are provided pre-release with review sets. And this, I guess, is what is happening here as well. So price point wise, Lego is asking for €200 or $200 US, 7.5 cents a piece. And yeah, you can already pre-order this from lego.com. I'm pretty sure it is an exclusive set at this point in time, it looks like. But let's see how this goes over time. With that, moving on to an availability, February 1st, from the what I still call Botanical Collection. I think Lego has changed the name. They call it, no, this is actually a flower arrangement. They have changed something in the whole flower icons thingy, but for me, I still call this Botanical Collection. But yeah, this is something I have to check out or maybe adapt a little bit over time. Anyhow, 10345, it's a entire flower arrangement. It's not a small set. It has 1,168 pieces, 1,161 pieces, my apologies, and is now available from lego.com. €110 or $110 US is the price point. And then we have two more announcements. At this point in time, not yet listed in the Lego store, but we have already the first relatively rough pictures, but it's quite cool actually. These are BrickHeads with Transformers, and we have first Bumblebee as a robot and a vehicle. My guess is based on the piece count that this is not a 2-in-1 set, but actually like two BrickHeads in quotes. So you have the Autobots and you have both the car as well as the bot version, if you will. 40804 is Bumblebee, and then you have 40803, which is Optimus Prime, which was always, as a kid, one of my heroes. Personally, I must say I'm a bit underwhelmed by the optics. In general, it's quite cool. I mean, I really like the truck design, which is the original truck design from the comics, if I recall correctly, from the books. So this is not like the cinema version where it was more like, I don't know, a US truck, if you will, but more like looking like this, different truck design, which if I recall correctly, is from the original box. But anyhow, 4803. The problem is, for me, Optimus itself. I think his face guard, the way they designed this, makes him look like, at least from this angle here, it makes him look like a bird. I don't know what you feel, but I mean, other folks have confirmed that they get the same impression when you look at him. I don't know. It looks not even close to be as cool as it did look back in the day with the books, but also with Optimus Prime, especially the first Transformers movie. I mean, it's so amazing when Optimus shows up for the very first time, with the soundtrack and everything. Still getting goosebumps when I remember this scene. It was so amazing, Autobots landing on Earth was quite amazing, but I don't know. For me, it doesn't look like Optimus Prime looks like a bird on legs. Anyhow, 237 pieces. Don't know the price yet. The question is, will this be like a $15 set or $20? Because it feels like 2 brickheads. And will Lego give these 2 individual brickhead numbers? This will also be interesting to see, because I've never seen a brickhead before, I think. Please correct me in the comment section, but so far, I mean, that we had a lot of brickhead packages with multiple brickheads in the box, and Lego always gave them individual numbers, though, like brickhead numbers, not set numbers. But usually there were individual characters, not like the same character in 2 different optics, right? I guess I never had Transformers in brickheads before. Who can transform? Anyhow, with that, moving on to the Creator Record Player 31127. So this is another gadget 3-in-1 set by Lego, going to be released March 1st. Lego is asking, or will be asking, for $30, both euros as well as dollars US. And next to the record player, you can also make a radio or microphone from it. I really like this concept of having like the record player and these, I guess, in quotes, plastic flowers. Obviously, it's Lego, so it's plastic, but I think in the original one, I guess that's what they basically are trying. I guess nobody was throwing actual real flowers with water and everything in a record player, so that's why I assume that this is based on a design that had plastic flowers in the first place. And yeah, like I said, you can also make a radio from it, or a microphone. So this is a gadget 3-in-1 set, not really my cup of tea, to be honest. I prefer more like the monsters or animals especially, but also the recent dragon looked really amazing. But yeah, if you're more into gadgets, here you go. 366 pieces, which makes this, with the price I already talked about, 8.3 cents a piece. And then, now available since February 1st, is the Ideas Twilight, the Cullen House, 21354. So this is an interesting one. As far as I can tell, over here in Europe, there's not much interest in this set, but I don't know how it is in other places of the world. But yeah, I guess this is one of these sets that Lego has designed not so much with or has picked actually the topic, not so much with the typical Lego fan in mind, but with the Twilight fan in mind. That's my guess. But personally, I did talk about this when the set was announced. I'm a bit underwhelmed by the design. Anyhow, now available, price hasn't changed, $220, both in Europe as well as in North America, or US, I should rather say. Of course, Canadian, it's more. Which is quite high, to be honest. So I have decided also to skip this set. Much more interesting, in my personal point of view, is the next idea set, going to release March 1st, 21355, The Evolution of STEM, which is like a wild ride through various forms of natural sciences, I should say, or engineering, which is always cool. I've always been a big fan of these kind of concepts. It has 879 pieces already. In this case, Chase BlueBrixx, again, recognized Femia/Lego ambassador media outlet, who has already reviewed this. So you may want to check this out before making your purchase. You can pre-order this thing, at least in some Lego.com stores. It seems not in all of them yet, but I guess this will change in the next couple of days. Sometimes this is not entirely in sync. Sometimes it just takes a while until SetDB has picked all of the availabilities up, but at the end of the day, you can pre-order this at lego.com. It's gonna cost you $80, both in Europe as well as in the US. There are 3 minifigures included. Don't know exactly all 3 scientists what we are talking about. I guess the lady is Madame Curie, I guess. But anyhow, I guess. Ah, okay, he's sitting under the tree with the apple in his hand. Of course, gravity and everything. And yeah, and I guess it's Madame Curie. She has radium in her hand, which was maybe not a good idea. I think she died quite early because she underestimated radiation. 879 pieces. And then we have April 1st, we already. I mean, I guess there are a lot more announcements will come in the next couple of weeks, I assume, but this is the first playset of the April wave. 76315 Iron Man's Laboratory Hall of Armor. Or armor. Yeah, armor, I think is correct. $55, both in Europe as well as in the US. 14.3 cents a piece. I guess the reason is because there are a relatively large amount of minifigures, so you have 3 suits, I guess. One Captain America version of almost said. No, what was he called? Like he was the. Oh, I forgot the name. But anyhow, 2 times Iron Man himself. At least I guess that's what this package shows, right? You have 2 suits, yeah. Iron Patriot, Mark 1, now I remember. So yeah, 5 minifigures, and I guess that is what is driving the price. Still, for such a tiny set, even with the minifigures, $55 is not too shabby. And then we have 3 Minecraft sets. The interesting thing, my understanding is there's going to be a movie, I was told. I'm so not into Minecraft. And I was in the past a Microsoft employee, but I don't know, I was never really into Minecraft, not my kind of game. Anyhow, my understanding is there's going to be a movie, and this is why we have now 3 sets. And people who know more about this stuff told me they assume that these sets belong to the movie because there are regular minifigures included. So, first, we have the Gas Balloon Village Attack 21273. $70. BlueBrixx Lego is asking for $70 for the set. 555 pieces. Holy moly. 12.6 cents a piece. For a Minecraft set, I mean, yes, it does have a license, but in the old days, Minecraft sets were always very nice to do a part out, right? Because they had a lot of regular bricks included. I think these are not for that purpose. Not a good fit. So we have first of all this one, then we have the Parrot Houses 21282. This one, I don't know, maybe this does not belong to the movie because it does not seem to have regular minifigures, only the Minecraft versions with the special heads. 535 pieces, and again, €70/$70 US, 13.1 cents a piece, so quite expensive. And yeah, I mean, from the brick building experience side of things, not that spectacular. Personally, my favorite of this wave is the Woodland Mansion Fighting Ring 21272. This one again has a combination of regular minifigures and, in quotes, Minecraft minifigures. It's only, in quotes, going to cost you $50, so 10.2 cents a piece. However, I think based on looking at the pictures, I would say it has smaller pieces included. I guess this is the reason. But at least they have a decent color. There are also some masonry bricks included. So I guess from part out point of view, it makes a bit more sense than the other 2. Plus, you have, from a brick building perspective, I think a few more interesting building techniques, including this huge monster beer robot thingy that is walking around. Again, I'm not really into Minecraft. 491 pieces. And yeah, it's definitely not a bargain. With that, we're moving on to, I think, one of the more exciting announcements from March 1st. And this is the next Ninjago City set, the City Workshop 71837. So I think this is the 5th set in the Ninjago City line. So these they call it a 14 plus set, but I mean, I guess for kid sets, they are quite expensive. But these are the Ninjago sets, the Ninjago City sets that are, because of their price point, usually kind of in between, like an 18 plus grown up collector set and kids. And I think this is, I guess, one of the target audiences are also folks who are have been kids maybe 10 years ago with Ninjago and are now, working and have money and everything, and as a result want to buy these sets. Anyhow, The interesting thing about these Ninjago City sets, from my point of view, is usually they have like 18 plus in quotes building techniques, interesting building techniques. They have the price point, they have the size, but they also have, like every Ninjago sets, like a bazillion stickers. Usually then they do not almost have no pad printed pieces, but most and foremost stickers. So if you're not into stickers, then I guess these sets are not for you. This one here is interesting though, because compared to its predecessors, or sister sets, it has a robot included, a mech, which of course the Ninjago series has always been famous for. But I think this is the first Ninjago City set around a mech, and I guess the idea is that you have here like a workshop to keep your mech in shape, which is quite cool. The mech itself is rather simple though. I think the Ninjago line has much better mechs, so it could even be an interesting option to build the set, but also throw in another Ninjago mech, a better one than this one. Anyhow, similar to the last one, which I think, what was it? The marketplace or something like that. It seems to be also highly modular, and of course you have again a large lineup of Ninjago minifigures. It's gonna cost you $250, both in Europe as well as in the US, for 3,244 pieces. Makes a price point of 7.7 cents a piece. Let me just check. Ninjago Gardens, I think, is still the most beloved one from 2021 by many folks. So this one had, and you can see this already, it was a lot bigger, 5,686 pieces, and did cost $350, which I think was not the original price. Originally it was 300, which was 5.3 cents a piece. And even after Lego raised the price, it was still 6.2, and now we are at 7.7. So yeah, it's a lot more expensive for what you get. And in fact, it's also a much smaller set compared to most other Ninjago City sets. And then we have the AT-AT driver helmet, 75429. The newest helmet, and not just the newest helmet. I think the helmet collection was already like in its grave, in quotes. So a lot of folks did expect or did assume that Lego would give up the helmets last year, but now they're coming back. And with a very strong contender here for one of the best helmets, I think, of the collection. It looks really beautiful. I think it looks quite accurate. I'm really happy that they decided to go for light bluish gray as a primary color. I think it also has enough prints included that even if you are not in the sticker faction like me, I think it should still look pretty decent even without the stickers. I'm actually thinking about buying this one. Yeah, I think, and the AT-AT pilot, especially with episode 5 and everything, has still been a very famous character. So, yeah, it looks quite nice. Lego is asking for $70 US, 80 euros over here. Don't know. It happens from time to time that sets get more expensive over here in Europe. But yeah, it's actually quite high. And as you can see, because it's Star Wars, Lego has already handed this one out to a lot of Lego ambassadors. Solid Brick Studios has a review online. Bricks fans, Jay's Brick blog as well. Anyhow, you can already pre-order the set from lego.com. With that, we are done with set updates for this week. Quick reading recommendation. I've done a review of the Cobi F-35B Lightning II air fighter craft from the Royal Air Force. So this is I don't know, how do you call this in English? Like the Stoffel. In German, I guess we would say Stoffel. I don't know, short takeoff and vertical landing variant of this aircraft. And I guess the whole vertical landing capability is the reason why a lot of folks call this thing Fat Amy, because it is, we all know that F-35 has the shape it has, but one of the main reasons, I guess, from a construction point is the B variant, which I think is used at least by the Royal Air Force for their 2 aircraft carriers, but I think in the US also the Marines are using this one. Not really sure if there are other countries who run the B version as well. Anyhow, quite a good Cobi set. I had a lot of fun with it. I think it looks quite beautiful. Cobi is doing, as always, an amazing job. I think the underbelly of the wings, especially if you look here at this angle, at these wedge plates in quotes, or wedge tiles, the air wing, I mean, there's a lot of stuff and weapons, of course, connected to the hard points. But still, I think the entire wing looks a bit ugly from the underside. Next to that, it's a cool airplane. You can remove the landing gear and you have multiple different rockets that you can attach to the hardpoints, like I said. No tanks or anything like that, just these. Yeah, and there's even this internal compartment for the internal bombing in case you want to go for this. However, if you're not using the hardpoints, the wings from the underside will even look uglier. So I think I would use the hardpoints the way Cobi suggests, using the different rockets. But yeah, overall, I think it is still a beautiful airplane. I've always been a big fan of the F-35, and so here you go. With that, and of course you have the vertical functionality. However, the way the engine has to be pointed downwards, the main engine, which is accurate, this is how it should be done, but the mechanism looks weird. It looks a bit wrong, I think. In reality, it is not that it's not pointing down that much. Let's put it that way. Anyhow, if you are interested in the B variant, you may want to check out the review, which you can. I mean, I will link it down below, but also you can go to merlinsbrixx.com or setdb.org. Just click on articles, and here you can get our lineup. As you can see, we have been quite busy with Cobi sets recently, but we are also doing a lot of other stuff, lighting. Lego sets, but also non-Lego sets from various brands. Actually, not that much Lego. Anyhow, with that, we're moving on to MOCs of the week, and here we have first the Temple of the Forbidden Eye, an Indiana Jones adventure by Goosey Goosey. Again, my English may be a problem here. Not really sure how this is supposed to be pronounced. What I can tell you, though, is that this beautiful temple MOC has 1,819 pieces, and what really impressed me is how well executed it is, that the temple actually looks broken down and worn out a little bit, right? I mean, this is not easy to do. And I think this job, I mean, not from a building technique perspective, but from an aesthetic perspective, to do this right, that it feels natural. And I think this is something that I really like about this set here, but also this entire excavation site, in quotes, the way it was designed, looks really amazing. It looks like Indiana Jones or Tomb Raider in that regard. I think for both of these things, you should be able to have a lot of fun with this MOC. And 1,819 parts is quite okay. And with that, moving on to, by Fanpesi, the Rivendell 10316 extension mountain bikes. And I think if you look at this overall, and I think this is not entirely, is this like an unchanged Rivendell? I'm actually not that sure. Or is this also a changed variant? I think this is basically, you use first Fanpesi's Rivendell extension to make Rivendell even bigger, and then you can have this base. So if you put these two MOCs, if you will, together, then you get this look. And I think this is the most beautiful variant of this already amazing set that I've seen so far. I'm a huge fan of this, but of course you will need a ton of pieces to get this right. But yeah, I think Rivendell, I mean, of course, it's a Lego set, so it's based more on the movies than the books. But I think Peter Jackson did an amazing job back in the day with Rivendell, which was, of course, also had a part in The Hobbit. And however, it was in Rivendell, and it was like, you know, on the sides of a mountain. And I think the original set from Lego was not able to transport this correctly because, I mean, of course, Lego designers are restricted by the amount of pieces that they have at their disposal or the budget. So I think if you throw in a couple of additional 1,000 pieces, you get this look, which looks, for me, much more authentic. And maybe also for you, if you're planning to build maybe Rivendell as a larger MOC, this may be also a pretty good starting point. With that, we're moving on to a MOC by BlueBrixx Gloria. Canterbury from the Expanse. 4,038 pieces, of course. Canterbury, important ship in the Expanse context. I think it's a beautiful MOC. Catches this quite well, but even if you are not into the Expanse, I mean, this thing could, I don't know, from the design, that's like a very traditional hard fiction design, in quotes. So I don't know, you could even use this in EVE On if you want to build an EVE Online MOC or something like that. I think there are various things, or Alien for that matter. A lot of, if you will, hard fiction designs, or this kind of science fiction vibe. you should have fun with this MOC. And I think one picture even proved that this thing has been built for real, which is always a good sign in regards of buildability and robustness. Then if you are into traditional Middle European castles, this small architecture MOC may be for you. Rheinstein Castle, T by BlueBrixx, 1,353 pieces. Designers asking for $9 US. Maybe the hill thing is a bit too simple for my taste. I just would like to have more detail. I think it's amazingly done using all different shapes and forms of slopes, but still, it looks a bit, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look exciting enough. I think it's quite precise how the original one looks, including the hill part, the grassy parts, the vine and all this stuff, but still, I think if I look at this model, a bit simple. But the castle is very well done, which is not easy in this scale. And yeah, looks right beautiful. Like I said, $9 US for the instruction. And then if you're more into alternate builds, looking for new ways to reshape your Lego sets, this one may be for you by Creation Caravan. The SR2 Normandy in MIDI scale. So Mass Effect, I think this is already the Normandy from the first game, $5 US, and it's an alternate build of the Invisible Hand by Lego, which I think was Starship Collection. Was it 2024? I think it was the 2024 Spring Wave. This set back in the day had 75377, had 557 parts. And if you use 447 of these, you get the Normandy, which is, I think, is not perfect, but it's also not that far away. I think the Normandy, of course, in my point of view, should be more like white and not light bluish gray. I know that when you have a white starship, which is always a bit like ugly in most games or movies, you're always a little bit in trouble, like should I make this white or light bluish gray in BlueBrixx? Of course, this is an alternate build, so there was no option. But I think, yeah, it's quite well done. And of course, another option to get your money's worth out of a Lego set. With that, we are done for the day. I hope you liked the show. For those of you who watch this on YouTube, please leave a like or comment, or even better, subscribe to the channel. For you podcast listeners, please leave a review, a star rating, or whatever it is called on your respective platform. Please keep in mind, usually I have a video version of this show on YouTube, and if it's below an hour, because that's the limit, I will also upload it to TikTok. And however, which is a manual process and takes a bit of time, I will also see that I get a video version updated or uploaded to Spotify as well. Anyhow, with that, thanks for listening. See you next week.